So tell us all why chocolate is just so good for us.
Okay, well, one is that it's the world's most loved food.
Yeah, amen.
And we're so lucky that we actually get to have it in its original form.
Yeah, the real deal.
Yeah, the real deal. And I got into it. I was in Maui with my friend Eli, actually, and I ran into him the other day. And over the years in Hawaii leading up to that, we had been getting little cacao beans, and I was like, what is this? I had no idea what chocolate was. I hadn't eaten chocolate since I was 15 years old. As kids, we were against it because it was candy.
Right.
Like, I'm not eating candy. Why would we eat that? So what ended up happening is we started peeling cacao beans and throwing them in smoothies. And then one year, which was about 10 years ago, I showed up at Eli's place and we were peeling cacao beans, and he had hundreds of cacao beans, and we were throwing them into smoothies, right? And gradually I was starting to get the idea that like this has something to do with chocolate. I didn't know what, but I was starting to get that idea.
Oh, yeah.
And then Eli says, have you ever just eaten one? And I was like, no, I'd never eaten one, because we've been peeling them, but we'd never eaten one.
Just eat it, right?
Yeah, so the next one I peeled and I ate it, and as soon as I bit into it, the cacao god appeared on my shoulder.
And what did the cacao god say?
The cacao god basically said, like, you know, wheatgrass can reach millions of people, but if you want to reach billions of people, you need to get on board with me. If we really want to open the doors for raw foods for people in the world, like billions of people, chocolate's a great avenue.
Yes.
Raw chocolate.
Yes.
It's like, it's superior in taste, flavor, ability to produce effects in your body.
Yeah.
It's got more love in it. It's just got everything. It's got it. And so that first moment of that flavor when the cacao god appeared, it was like, I bit into it, it was like, oh my God, this exists. That was my first thought. Because I've been a raw foodist hardcore for years.
Oh yeah.
You know, I never had chocolate, anything, and when I bit into this, I couldn't believe the flavor of it. It blew my mind completely, flipped me right around. So that's how it all began. That was the beginning of the raw chocolate revolution, and eventually, about a year later, and decided to write the book Naked Chocolate.
Great book.
Which became the manifesto for the raw chocolate revolution.
Great.
Which is really behind every revolution is a book.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That's the book, Naked Chocolate.
Excellent book, Naked Chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I just kept uncovering more and more and more research about chocolate and doing more research. When I first sent cacao beans off to a lab, they came back with some number. It was like 900 something ORAC. And I was like, I don't understand this. Like a mango's like 3.
Right, you're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, well, I don't get.
Really?
Is this something? I literally called the lab up and I was like, I don't get it. And they couldn't explain it to me. So I was like, send me like other foods so I can compare, because I don't get it. I don't understand what this is. And so they sent me a whole list, and I was like, wait, cacao's like 600 as a cacao bean, and like if you crush it to a powder, it's like 900 and something in ORAC, whereas like a banana is like 1 or something, or 3 or 2 or 0 or something like that.
So talk about a superfood.
Yeah, so so we realized eventually, as the research began to bubble up, is that cacao is the #1 antioxidant food in the world. It's the #1 antioxidant food, period, in the world ever. And that's a huge discovery. That would indicate that it would be the #1 longevity food if the free radical theory of aging has any validity. Sure. And in fact, that's the facts. That chocolate is the #1 longevity food in the world. The longest lived people in the world drink wine, the port wine, the real like phenolic wine with the resveratrol in it, massively slather olive oil onto everything, and eat chocolate in massive amounts. Now people go, no, come on. It's like, okay, why don't you look up Jeanne Calment, C-A-L-M-E-N-T. She's the longest lived woman officially in the world, according to historic records. She lived to be 122 years old and 164 days. And if you scroll down to her diet on Wikipedia, you'll see it right there. She ate 1 kilo of chocolate per week.
Now, is there a difference between chocolate when it's mixed with a coconut sugar or an agave nectar? Does the molecular structure of the chocolate change at all, or is it just as healthful as it is when it's by itself?
It's always more healthful when it's bitter.
When it's bitter.
But it's more helpful when it's bitter mixed with herbs, actually. Okay. If you want the most healthful way to eat chocolate, when it's bitter mixed with herbs, which is how it was traditionally done in Mexico and in Central America and in Amazonia, going back to the beginning of time. It was never really sweetened.
Right, always was mixed with the maca, and it was mixed with...
Yeah, right, it would be mixed with maca, right? It would be mixed with corn.
Oh,
it would be mixed with corn and cayenne. Like this is like on the streets of Mexico City, Tenochtitlan. It was mixed with corn and cayenne and hot water and cacao, and that's it. Boom, that's your cacao drink. So it was like kind of a bitter drink, and the corn would kind of take a little bit of the edge off. In Veracruz, Mexico, is mixed with bee pollen.
Yum.
And that's it. Just cacao and bee pollen, so no sweetener. And so that's where it's most medicinal. When you mix like a nut, like cacao, which is really a nut, which is the nut that all chocolate's made out of, just to clarify that. Like these cacao beans aren't really beans.
Right.
They're actually nuts. It's the most widely eaten nut in the world that nobody actually eats. Right, that's the amazing thing about it.
Yeah, it's really amazing, actually.
When you take a nut and you mix it with a sweet, you know, that's like dried fruit and almond butter, you know, like dates almond butter, which we know it's like amazing.
Right.
But you can't do that all the time. It's not good for you.
Okay,
You know, it's not good for you.
So it's better just to eat the cacao bean or eat the nib.
Well, occasionally it's good to have a little treat, right? You got to have,
Sure.
you know, dip it in honey or put honey in your smoothie or whatever. But ultimately, when you're dealing with chocolate, the best way to do it is bitter. If you want to do it for healthful reasons, if you want to do it for a party, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story. And then it's still good for you, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
it's
still gonna
the
be good
most
for you.
nutritious.
Yeah.
Well, the big problem with raw foodists is there's mineral deficiencies rampant, not only in our society, but especially amongst raw food people, because, you know, people do believe you can actually get all your nutrients from the farmer's market or from the health food store, from that food. And my experience, because I've traveled the world and dealt with raw foodists for all these years, and the reason why I have the perspective I do is because I've seen that that's not true. That you can actually have mineral deficiencies, and that can cause teeth problems. It can cause neurological problems. And so cacao is number one in magnesium of any food in the world, any major food. It's number one in iron of any major plant food. It's number one in copper and zinc, pretty much, of almost any plant food out there. It's extraordinarily high in manganese, also ranked almost the highest of anything. It's extraordinarily high in chromium. It's actually higher than any other plant food in chromium, which balances blood sugar. And it's also extraordinarily high in phosphorus for bone. Now, when I look at that, I see right there, those are the minerals that we're deficient in.
Yeah.
And those are the minerals that we need. And so chocolate is really a mineral supplement, and that's how it's described in the literature. Basically, the research that had been done on like rats being fed cacao is basically, they're saying now that chocolate is really a mineral supplement. Yeah. So that's kind of another thing. So we've got the antioxidants,
Sure.
we've got the minerals, and then we've got all the love chemicals, the phenethylamines. So I took chocolate and cacao to one of my friends who's one of the top phenethylamine chemists ever alive in this whole world ever.
Wow.
You know, there's only maybe one guy in the world that's on par with him. And I was just talking to him this morning, actually, and we took cacao down to the phenethylamine level, and basically most scientific laboratories aren't able to really differentiate the phenethylamine love chemicals that are in cacao. But what he told me from his research on cacao that I brought him is that cacao, once it's cooked, loses most of the phenethylamines. So there's like 7 of them. They're usually all categorized as just one thing in mainstream scientific literature, but really there's like 7 of them that are just very close together.
Okay.
And most of those are destroyed by heat. So we don't get the love is kind of the thing. You get it with the raw chocolate, you get the love.
You get the love.
You get all 7 of them.